female founders and women that I think are doing extraordinary things in business. And today I'm really excited because I have the wonderful Marion Mays, who many of you may know. Marion is a certified money coach and property mentor, but Marion also came to one of our She's the Boss events last year, and we started talking about her alternative housing for women idea and program that she's been working on. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. But let's start at the beginning. Marion, do you want to tell everybody what the name of your business is?
Yeah, good morning, Jules, and thank you so much for inviting me.
My
I'm
pleasure.
really excited to be here because I have some important information to share for those people trying to navigate the grown-up world of money. Sounds easier than it is. First of all, my business name is Money Strong, formerly Thalia Stanley Group.
Right.
And that's a bit of a mouthful, but Thalia Stanley Group was named in honor of my mother, who was Thalia.
I was going to say, who's
my
Thalia
father
Stanley?
and my father, Stanley.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love it. Okay, but now you've gone to, what is it? Money
Strong. We're just in the
Money
midst of a
Strong.
rebrand. Yeah.
Great name. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's now go to what you do and why you do it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your purpose and the story behind it?
Yeah, totally. Look, I probably will give you some context if that's okay.
Sure.
I spent many decades in the financial services industry and a very long time in the property sector.
Yeah.
And what I observed was really big organizations, financial institutions and banks and investment companies making billions and billions and billions of dollars. And yet the hard data told us that women were aging into poverty,
Yeah.
and then that older women were worse off, becoming the highest demographic group to homelessness, at the risk of homelessness. So this didn't add up for me. I devoted my life to financial services and property. And if you think about it, it's a bit like saying we have an incredible police force, but if you leave your home, you're likely to be have a crime committed against you. It just didn't make sense. So about a decade ago, I took a brave leap of faith. Many said it was a silly leap of faith at the time. There was no money coaches back then. There was no such thing as financial literacy or financial capability. It wasn't a job. And I decided to go out and see if I could make change in the space of people's lives with money.
Yeah.
Now, it's a decade later, and what I would love to say is that I think even if I work 7 days a week, I couldn't possibly service the 27 million Australians that literally need help with the area of money. Yeah.
No, but luckily you've started something, because now we know that there are coaches out there. And can I say, I'm one of those people that goes, I just want to create things. I don't want to think about the money. And of course, it's so important that you understand your financials.
Mm-hmm.
And just, do you have it to hand what those stats are for women? Because it's pretty awful. I thought it was
in relation to, so women over 55 are the fastest growing demographic of homelessness in this country. And then in terms of data and women having enough money to retire on, I would put a bet, I would put hard money on that more than 90% of the female population in Australia, which is approximately 13 million women and girls, will not have enough money to retire on when they finish their working life. So I'm saying more than 90%. Anyone is welcome to challenge that in the comments, but I'm pretty confident. And as I said, there seems to be way more demand than I can meet in terms of people really wanting to change their outcomes with money so that they can change their quality of life.
It's just shocking. And I think, and so many women think about getting out of their relationship, maybe after many decades of being married, and don't think that they're going to end up sleeping in a car. But that's what's actually happening. And I think the stats I heard a couple of years ago was 16,000 women at the moment over 55 are sleeping in cars or on friends' couches or whatever. And it's just horrific.
It is. It is.
Okay, so tell us a little bit of the story about setting up Money Strong / Thalia Stanley.
Well, I'll probably lean into Thalia Stanley Group was formed, as I said, 10 years ago, and we're now rebranding as Money Strong. I'll probably, just for those watching or listening, kind of clarify who I actually work with and who I serve.
Yeah, do.
So my target audience is humans in their prime, And
Yep.
for those of you who are not sure about that age catchment, it's people 40 and above. So people in
Right.
their prime are people 40 and above. I
Woohoo.
work predominantly with women, but actually 30% of my client base is men. And I
Okay.
also do couples work, which I've done for a very long time. And it's an area of expertise that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
So this distinction is probably really important for those watching. My work is personal development. So what does that mean? Helping people move through life in a more expanded way, helping them
Yeah.
become unstuck in the areas that they're stuck, and helping them move away from past trauma and limiting beliefs and moving them towards an abundant life.
Yeah.
And my area of expertise is money and financial capability wrapped up in personal development. So in short, I help people increase their financial capability, and that falls into 3 categories. And I think it's really important that those watching understand, if you have a conundrum or a challenge with money, that you identify which of the 3 categories you actually have challenge in. So the first category would be that I help people actually earn more money. Now,
Right.
that's not a financial product. You can't go to a financial planner and say, give me the product
That
that's going
makes
to
me
help me.
earn more money.
And now that's very much based in personal development. And I've spent 25 years studying behavioral science, psychology, and personal development.
Right.
The second category that I help people with is to manage their money by automating their finances in a way that honors their 3 highest values and actually helps them reach their life goals. If I put most people's finances under a microscope, what you will find is they're not using money in a values aligned way.
Yep.
And second, the way in which they use money is definitely not moving them closer to any of their life goals. And the third area that I help people with is making money from the money that they earn, or languaged another way, multiplying money. And most people know that as
That sounds,
investing.
and it sounds very, very attractive.
Yes. Well, people make wealth creation so complicated, but the truth is the only way to build wealth is to spend less than we earn and buy assets that go up in value over time and
Yeah.
have the capacity to produce a passive income. No one has ever become wealthy from saving their salary, and
Right.
it is not that complicated. It's simply a matter of buying assets that go up in value over time, whatever those assets you choose to buy.
I think that's a really interesting insight. And I know I read
Yeah.
that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yeah.
Robert Kawasaki, I think it is. I'm not 100% sure of his name.
That's the
But,
guy.
but yeah, but I thought that what was really interesting in it was the idea that rich people or wealthy people do not buy cars. They do not buy holidays. They buy, as you say, assets that can accrue in value. And that's something that a lot of people don't really think about. You think, if I make some money, then I'm going to get a new car, particularly if you're a bloke, I guess,
True.
and women.
Mhm.
And that, I'm going to buy this, that, and the other. And you don't think about how you could make that money work so much harder for you, so you can have holidays every year of your life, for instance.
Yeah, true. And I think the notion of trading time and life force in exchange to get money is doable in our earlier years, but becomes less viable in our more mature years, or
Yeah,
when we're in
yeah,
our prime. And I think, the vehicle of investing enables us to stop trading time and life force for
yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so what do you? So let's assume we've got people listening, and if they're not now, hopefully they'll get a
Hi, people.
notification. So my question is, in terms of products and services specifically,
Yeah.
what do you have, a course or a book or an event or something that you want to talk about now? And then I'm going to get into this alternative housing idea with you.
Yeah, I love so much. And I've even got a beautiful case study that kind of encapsulates
Oh, great.
not just the housing idea, but the financial capability as well. So first of all, there are multiple access points to my work, and I think that's really important. And actually, I'm working on creating more ways to have greater access points that are low cost or free of charge.
Right.
So I'm currently working on that. But right now you can work with me via two main ways. One is a small intimate group in a 6-week program. So it's not a course. It's not a digitally pre-recorded course. It's a
Yeah.
6-week program, and we meet 3 times during the course of that program. And it's bespoke. So we only allow a set number of people into it.
Yep.
Or you can listen to my podcast if you like the sound of a deeper voice.
You can't. You do not have a deeper
I'm in
voice
good
compared to
company.
me.
Yeah. Or I have blogs that I've written to help people navigate some simple concepts around money. But otherwise, if you're listening or watching and you want really rapid results, like you're just done, you're done with living Groundhog Day, you're done with working to pay taxes, to not have enough money left over, and you want really rapid, tangible results, then you can work with me in a one-on-one 90-day program. And from that program, that's a private one-on-one program where I will guide you through a curated experience and promise you at the end that you will have both tangible and intangible results. I
Oh,
don't
I like that.
really do fluff as a certified money coach. I'm really deeply passionate to outcomes, both tangible outcomes, so external outcomes and intangible outcomes, where maybe it's your story or your relationship or what you tell yourself is possible for your life changes. And I like rapidness. I don't like let's work together for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, 5 years. Yeah, I like let's
Let's
get
just
in,
get it done.
rip the Band-Aid off, as they say. Not a great analogy, I know. And
We need to think of some kind of positive alternative to that, don't we?
yeah,
It's
we
not
do.
about ripping the Band-Aid off, but anyway, it's about getting fast results, which of course
Yeah.
is going to be really attractive to anybody who's in a situation where they, need to change their attitude toward. I mean, I had a light bulb moment just last year. I saw a wonderful woman called Fiona Johnson talk on a stage, and Fiona lives 200 meters from my door and comes to She's the Boss events, but I had to go to Sydney and see her on a stage before I got it. And she just said, stop thinking about money emotionally and think of it as a tool. And I don't know why it was, but sometimes you do just need that external person to say things to you to make you get it. So I'm delighted that you've got like a 90-day program. So tell me that story. I want to hear the story that you were talking about.
Well, really, it's a story of a woman who is atypical of all of the things that I just discussed. So she's a
Yeah.
woman in her prime,
Yep.
and her name is Carmel, and she's more than happy for me to share her name.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fabulous story. So Carmen's a single mum with a daughter who has some special needs, and she was asked to vacate her rental property. The landlord decided that they wanted to sell the property, so she was asked to vacate.
Right.
And despite applying for
Hang
more
on, let me just ask, how long ago did that happen? Is that right, sort of during all of this
last year.
rental catastrophe? Yep. Okay.
Last year. So mid to late last year, she was asked to vacate her rental property. She was given notice. She applied for 10 rental properties, but as a single mother with a daughter with special needs and a contractor, she wasn't the most preferred applicant for the property she was applying for, and just kept missing out and missing out and missing out. Time went quickly, and she needed to vacate the property that she was in.
Yeah.
And with having nowhere to go, she actually moved into an Airbnb.
Right.
And she was living in an Airbnb, which you can imagine is cost prohibitive, incredibly expensive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Killer.
But I think as a woman and as a mother, and I can speak firsthand to this experience, faced with the choice of being homeless or sleeping in my car, even if I only had $10,000 savings in the bank, there is absolutely no question I would also take the same pathway and move
Yes,
into an
same.
Airbnb to provide housing security for my
Yeah.
daughter and myself.
And also give you breathing space to think, what the hell am I going to do to earn more money?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. What I just shared with you now is, that's not an extreme case. I just want people watching or listening to understand that's the reality of the rental market and the housing space in Australia today for many who don't own their own home. So anyway, she moved into, sorry, yes. So
Sorry,
she moved into an Airbnb,
Yep.
and she reached out to me, and I was like, first things first, we need to get you out of an Airbnb. She had finite resources. She's a contract worker. And so I called in my private and professional network, and we found a apartment close to her daughter's school to relocate her to. So I was able to get her
Oh,
out.
fantastic.
Yeah, but the thing is, she had to reach out and ask for help and support, number
Yeah.
one. And number two, lucky that I have an incredibly thick black book in the space. And I was able to call in goodwill from my personal and professional network. And I was able to cut through realestate.com and the rentals available
Yeah.
to find her a property. So she had an
And also, Marion, to vouch for her, because I rent as well. And I know my landlord turned me down. It was only that I knew the agent who had sold my house through them, because he said, I don't want to give a single woman who's running her own business with 3 children a house. It just seemed impossible. And here we are 9 years later. But it was a struggle. And I think that you're right. And I mean, how many single women do we know out there? Single mums, gazillions of them. So, yeah, it makes it extra hard, I think, just to go back. Anyway, keep going.
So now we've got her into stable housing,
Yeah,
which provides certainty. Yeah, and we all need certainty as a baseline to function efficiently in our lives.
yeah,
But Carmel had many limiting beliefs, and she also had a big story about who she was and what was possible for her. That
mhm,
story was definitely validated by the current landscape in Australia for women when it comes to money and property. It was
right,
definitely validated.
yeah,
Housing insecurity, employment insecurity, earning less money than she would like, all of the things that us as women are way too familiar with. So first things first was to help her with those limiting stories and beliefs.
yeah,
And the pathway for her was doing a 6-week program with me that was both
yep,
educational in nature and mindset and beliefs work. Yeah.
yep.
So she did that program, and she's just actually settled on her first house
Oh
that
my
we helped
God.
her buy
Yeah,
as an investment. So she's rent vesting because
yep,
for her personal circumstances that made more sense
yep,
than trying to buy in a state and a marketplace where she's priced out of the market like many of us. And she's just settled on her first property house, actually, which is fully tenanted at more income than we had expected. And we are now preparing her to become ready to purchase her second property or
oh my
house.
God, Marion,
I know.
amazing.
But I just really love to share a couple of key things in
Yeah,
that
do.
story, because the key aspects really of this story are that she sought help. And I absolutely live by the credo that successful people ask for help and get the support that they need.
Yep,
And
yep,
when I look at any successful person in the world, they're surrounded by incredible help and support.
yep,
The second thing was she knew that she needed someone who knew more than her and was better resourced and connected to her, because she had really tried herself, as we saw with the rental situation.
yep,
And the third thing, which I love so much and, always makes my heart swell and I get a bit emotional, she was willing to admit that her life as she was living it was absolutely limited by her story and her limiting beliefs. And she opted in to be coached. Um,
yeah,
she led a team of trusted, incredible experts that I've worked with for almost a decade,
yep,
support her strategically in creating a plan that matched her values. We found out what they were, that
yep,
matched her lifestyle goals and that matched her financial situation. Thus, she ended up rent vesting, not purchasing a home to live in. And my extended team, 3 of us, worked together to help her take action and buy her first house. And it literally took us as a village to support her and hold her hand throughout the process. I mean, can you imagine living a story of, I've just been given notice on my rental property. I can't find anywhere to live. I'm living in an Airbnb, chewing through my emergency fund and my income buffer.
which I
And
need for my child who's got special needs in case, God forbid, anything happens as well.
yeah, but here's the clincher too. She would have ran out of cash flow because
Yeah,
the Airbnb was more than $3,000 a month, and she'd already been in the Airbnb for 3 months. So she'd blown $10,000 as a swing
wow, right,
of her savings. So, and I love that story so much. And the reason I love that story so much is because there's 2 aspects to it. She was willing to ask for help and be supported and admit she knew what she knew and she didn't know beyond that.
yep,
Um, And the second thing is she was willing to understand and dig deep that her life as she was living it really wasn't serving her. To be
Yeah.
struggling with housing security, to have a story that, you don't deserve wealth, abundance, stability, certainty. The things that many people watching here probably take for granted. They may already own their own homes or have secure employment. I love the duality and the two aspects of that particular story, that, it took a group of trusted people to support and help her. But most importantly, it took her saying, I'm done with where I'm at. I'm going to lean into some support, and I'm going to be helped, and I'm going to let someone help me.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head, because I think when you're down, one of the things that is hardest to do is to ask for help. And yet if there is anything that certainly fires me up, it's someone in need, and sounds like your network as well. If we can help you, we want to help you. So I just think that it's a really powerful story. But wow, so will her second house be a house she can live in, or is it another rent vest?
No, and this is a really high quality question, so thank you so much. So some of the work that I do in the property space is very specialized work that few do. And essentially, when we buy a property, it's a really big investment. It's not
Huge.
jeans that we can take back tomorrow. And what I often see is many people buying properties, let's call them the red properties and the yellow properties and the green properties.
Yeah.
That are not conducive to that person's values, life goals, or financial situation. And they don't do the job that the people buying them for are hoping they will do. In this particular woman's situation, because of financial constraint, and I'll just share with you, the first house that we helped her buy was in another state, was in Adelaide.
Yeah, right.
And the purchase price was, from memory, $365,000. It's a quintessential, gorgeous, weatherboard, whitewashed house with a big veranda on a 1,000 square meter block.
Wow.
We're getting over $400 a week rental for that property, and she only spent $365. And for her particular life circumstance, this makes sense because her daughter is soon going to go to high school. Lots of high schools are zoned. Not easy to buy in Victoria, Melbourne, in zoned high schools. The prices are usually prohibitive. And so she has two options. She either rent vests, which she has decided to do, and be in the property market and have those assets going up in value over time working for her. And then she will rent where she chooses to live.
Yeah.
But I guess what this has brought to her is a sense of stability and certainty.
She's got that backup now. I mean,
She's
worst
got the
case
safety
scenario,
backup plan.
she can go and live in her own house if she has to.
She's got the safety backup plan.
Yeah, that's
her
brilliant.
worst play on this planet is that she gets to move to a stunning place like Adelaide and live in a quintessential, gorgeous cottage, which is totally Airbnb worthy, like it's divine.
Yeah.
That's her worst play in life.
Perfect.
And that's not such a bad worst play.
No, that's brilliant. Oh, I just love that story. That's very inspirational. And, and I love it that that's what you're able to do with women, which brings me to my second last question, which is, why do you think women have a lack of financial wealth? What are the patterns that you're seeing women have that prevent them from accessing financial wellness in their lives? Or what is it that's stopping us?
Yeah, so I'll answer this question, but I will give you context that this is my personal lens. So I don't have hard data on it. Now, I'm 30 years in financial services, 20 years in the property sector, and 10 years as a money coach, working through the lens of personal development and finances and money. And I've been before, I would say, thousands of people. So this is my lens. I think there's three things. And if you're hearing this, one of these may strike a chord or they may be triggering, I'm not sure. But I think the first thing, first and foremost, in my observation, and just to comment, my client base is both national and international. So it's relative.
So you've got a big breadth of experience and knowledge about what's going on out there.
Yeah. So, well, it's relative to the Australian landscape, but also internationally is my point with that. So, number one, a lack of financial literacy and financial capability, period, full stop. Yeah.
And is that they're not learning at school? I mean, where should women be learning if they're not?
Well, you're asking a certified money coach, and if you read any of the posts about my son, who's a 16-year-old boy who's figured out that if he puts $433 into an investment account for the next 30 years, he'll have 7 figures and he can stop working. So I think the parents play a role, but
Yeah.
in fairness, it hasn't been mandated in the Australian education system for the last 40 years. So there are
No.
many parents, and those parents are my clients, who don't have financial literacy and financial capability. So I think the responsibility lies with the education department and ourselves as parents.
Yep.
But I just want to draw a distinction there. So number one is the main reason I see is a lack of financial literacy and capability. And I want to have a distinction between financial literacy and capability. You and I all know what to do to get six-pack, yeah, on our abs. You know, we've
Yep.
watched 100 videos. I don't have a six-pack. That's literacy. That's
Neither do
literacy.
I. Yeah. Okay.
Capability is I have an experiential experience of it, and I'm becoming slowly competent, and I feel comfortable investing shares, or I feel comfortable buying property. That's capability. That's very different.
Right.
So there are a lot of, you know, workshops and events and books and podcasts that give us financial literacy. And the work that I do in my programs is about making that experiential and holding your hand and giving you financial capability so that you're not codependent on a financial planner
Yeah.
or
Fantastic.
your partner or anyone else. The second thing that I see, and this is going to sound really left of center, but I'm just going to say it at the risk of
say it anyway. Go on.
People thinking I'm a bit woo-woo, and I'm certainly not. You know, there's science behind this. The second thing that I see that blocks women universally, internationally, and in Australia from financial wellness.
Yep.
And just please keep in mind the current financial situation in Australia of the gender pay gap and all of the problems is echoed in the US market, is echoed in the
Yep.
UK market, is echoed around the world. The second problem is something called the 3 universal fears. And the first universal fear is I don't belong. And the second universal fear is I'm not enough. And the third universal fear is I'm not loved, or languaged a different way, a major self-worth issue. Yeah.
Yep.
Simple as
and a
that.
bit of imposter syndrome thrown in. Yep.
Yeah. So I see extraordinary women with living a life of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I don't belong in this room, I don't belong at this table. And it is an epidemic. And I really want to say that because a lot of my work is personal development, and I have to get people to a certain level so they can actually change the stories in their mind so that it can actually have different outcomes in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the third reason is going to sound abstract again, but I'm just going to go with it, is having a lack of family or social infrastructure of people that can support you to be the best version of you so that you can make money, manage money, and multiply money. And let me quantify that. You know, if you're moving through the world, if you're that single mother who has no family in Australia, yeah, her parents live in another country,
Yep.
she has a smaller circle of support, yeah. Those people have big, amazing, huge families with a mum and dad and brothers and siblings and sisters and uncles and aunts that are all jumping in or leaning in to help and support them. Or those people that have amazing networks tend to do better than those that have less family and social infrastructure.
That's exactly my reason behind setting up She's the Boss, because women do better if they've got support around them, particularly of other women as well. So
yes,
similar.
and I know these two last answers, you know, the third one's obvious, may seem like really, but I'm saying this after 10 years of being at the coalface and coaching thousands of people, both in Australia and overseas. This is the phenomena that I'm seeing. And this is why the work that I do is embedded deeply in behavioral science, human psychology, coaching, mindset work, and then the financial literacy and the financial capability. So I trust that answers your question.
It does. Now, we've got 1 minute left, but I still really wanted to talk about this alternative housing. So are you able to speak really fast?
I'm able to speak really quickly.
About how you're making it possible for women who can't afford to buy a whole house or to rent best to actually have a roof over their head.
Okay, so let's go. So first of all, the concept that Jules is speaking about is called rooming house.
Yeah.
And essentially from the street, it would look like a perfectly normal house to you and I. And within those four walls would be 9 independent living spaces that are self-contained, that have their own outdoor area, that have their own small living space, their own bathroom, their own kitchen bench area. And essentially, obviously, that makes rentability more affordable. So if you're a single woman in the market looking for a housing solution, that can be a very dignified housing solution.
Yes.
That solves the financial problem of huge rental, but also solves the solution of isolation and loneliness, which we know is an epidemic amongst older women. We just know this. From the other side of the fence, as an investment product for those people that are interested, think about having one house, which is on a normal housing size block, and having 9 rental incomes. The certainty and the security and the safety of that is definitely a lot more appealing to many investors than having one rental income. And it's been a passionate project of mine forever. And I'm really happy and proud to say that I'm now working with very quality, high quality builders who have been in this space for a long time. They're a family owned business. Their heart's in the right place. They're building these for the right reasons. And there you go. That's my rapid 60 seconds.
I know. I want to start all over again and just talk about that. It's such a great idea. But thank you, Marion. I hope anyone listening will reach out to you to find out more about that or about any of the other things you do. But I particularly love this rooming house, and we're not talking about smelly old, there are plenty of rooming houses that we probably have in our minds when you hear that. But the idea that you could have a modern, fabulous place with 9 women living together, each with their own space, I just love it. Okay, so we're just about out of time. Just quickly, if anyone wants to get hold of you, what is the best way without giving away phone numbers or anything?
I'm definitely not putting my phone number out there. So super easy. LinkedIn is my second home. I love LinkedIn. Put in Marion Mays and you'll find me on LinkedIn. Fabulous. Or if you're someone listening, and I can see there's some Facebook users chiming in, you'll find me on Facebook, either under Marion Mays or Thalia Stanley Group, which is our parent company. And one of those 2 access points will get you to some of my
just spell Thalia Stanley, just in case.
Yeah, true. Thalia, which was my mum's name, Thalia, and second word Stanley, as in the gentleman's name, Stanley,
E-Y?
L-E-Y, absolutely.
L-E-Y. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Marion. If you've enjoyed this, please tune in. I'm doing these at 11 o'clock every Monday or whatever time you're seeing it. Do check out the She's the Boss group at she'sthebossgroup.com. We are always open to meeting fabulous women, particularly women in their prime who are running a business. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and this is going through my LinkedIn feed, or join the Facebook group. I've also got a course called How to Become a Woman of Influence, where I take women through the process of 7 different pillars that I believe will help you raise your profile. So if you are trying to make change happen in the world, then you do need to be found. And so your profile needs to be out there. And of course, if you want to be a role model for other women, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and for young girls, then you have to be stepping out into the spotlight. Whether you like it or not, you can take the focus off yourself and think of the young girls you're inspiring. And last but not least, on both LinkedIn and Facebook, I've started a group called Australian Women Speakers. I am determined to change the stat that only 30% of speakers are women. So I've put together, there are now 1,700 women across those 2 platforms who are all looking for opportunities to speak. And I'll be launching a directory very soon. But it is really important for all of us to get on the stage, get out there, like Marion is doing as well, and be a role model for other women so that they can see it, because if they can't see it, they can't be it. And that has been proven many times. So thank you so much, Marion, for your interview today.
Thanks for having me, Jules. I loved it. Too quick. Went too quick.